Hey there. So my next guest is a Shoutcaster. So he comments on esports events and he's the hype man. So he talks really fast during this interview, but he gives so much incredible advice. If you have any interest in going into esports, and especially if you want to be a Shoutcaster, this is definitely one you want to check out. Hey there, welcome back to the Gamerpreneur podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Bradford Carlton. Today we have a very special guest with us. I have Jordan Fitzpatrick, aka FBI Tugboat. Hey, how's it going, Jordan?
Doing well. Happy to be here.
Fantastic. All right, so I'm just going to dive right into it. Jordan, please tell me a little bit about yourself.
Sure. Let's see. I'm a South Carolina native, lived here my whole life. I went to high school and took a psych class, got really interested in that. Advertising and stuff like that has always been really interesting, marketing and things like this. And to be honest, the show Mad Men, especially coming through, when I was, towards those later years when I was graduating high school and into college, had an effect on that too. So I thought that was really, really cool. Went into school for psych initially, and then a marketing minor, and those two flipped. Graduated with a degree from the University of South Carolina with a marketing, PR degree, and then worked a few jobs, made some money, but just was not entirely satisfying. I've been playing video games since I was a kid. When Halo 1 came out, Halo CE came out, I was playing that with the older brother, the younger brother, 9 years old or whatever else like that, and that was pretty much it. Before that, I played a few video games, but really I knew that I enjoyed doing that, and so after 4 or 5 jobs in marketing, doing a lot of different things, a lot of different things. I even ran a wedding venue for a while and did everything marketing wise for them and stuff like this. So really kind of across the map as well. Again, it was good money, but just wasn't satisfying. A longer story boiled down shorter is I went to the base camp in Mount Everest with my family, and while I was there, I had a lot of thinking to do, and I thought about just simply what makes me happy. That was esports. A couple months later, I shoutcasted my first tournament. Shoutcasting is to provide commentary just like you'd see on the NFL, like you'd see in hockey or the MLB or anything else like that, just for esports, for competitive video gaming. I just slid right into the play-by-play niche the very first time I did it. I knew it was for me. It just blew my mind. Absolutely fell in love with it, and that was about 2 years ago, and I have not done much else since outside of esports consulting.
Beautiful. I love someone who talks fast. I talk fast too.
Yeah. It's one of the things I have to consistently keep in mind for casting, because if you talk too fast, people can't understand you, especially if their English isn't their first language and whatnot. So.
All right. So Jordan, I start every interview with a single question. I'm going to ask you just like I ask everybody else. A scale of 1 to 10, 10 being high, how weird are you?
Probably a 7 or an 8, I'd say. If average is 5, I think a lot of people would answer that question, would answer the question with a 5 if they don't think about weird stuff, or don't really think about things. And I spend a lot of my time thinking about weird shit. So there you go. I like that question, by the way. I really like that question.
Absolutely. The point of that question is I ask every gamer that, and it seems like almost everyone's I'm a 10, I'm a 15. When it comes down to it, you can't all be so crazy wild that you're weird. At the end of the day, gamers are normal people, and we just haven't realized that.
Yeah. So, 7 or an 8 or whatever. I don't really think that has so much to do with video gaming and esports, but a base nature. I don't even know. We're not getting philosophical.
Sure thing. Okay, so this is the Gamerpreneur. What is your gaming cred? You said you started kind of with Halo, and no one ever actually mentions the subtitle Combat Evolved, so rock on.
No, they don't. It's Halo 1 to everybody, and of course we know what you're talking about, but the official name is Halo Combat Evolved.
Right. So that's when you started playing, and then how did that kind of progress for you? Why was it video games was kind of the thing you ended up in?
Okay, so larger answer, I guess there is my dad always made a really big point to be eclectic, pull from a very wide range of things, of interests, of people, of occupations, jobs, so things maybe not full on careers, occupations, but do different things for money and see what works out, right? So I definitely played sports and things like this, did club teams, non-sports, competitions and things like this. Played Magic the Gathering from a young age, which is now kind of an esport, which is a funny thing to think about, I guess. But why? I guess you could kind of say, in a very real way, when I tried out for football at my relatively large public Southern high school at inch or two shorter than I am now, about 5'7", 5'8". I know I'm not standing up and you can't tell. But as just not a physically large person, tried out for football, which was the only team sport outside of baseball kind of that I really, really enjoyed playing. We did martial arts growing up. We did all kinds of different stuff, still kayak to this day all the time. But football was really that thing, and not getting on the team, even JV or varsity, trying out as a freshman makes logical sense, but at the time it kind of disheartened me, honestly. So that really, so I didn't try out for like another sport team, and I kind of regret that, honestly, Brad. Video games kind of slid right in there because obviously, you need two working hands, right? That's pretty much it, and some eyes. And there's no, a physical size capability. Again, I'm not standing up, but I'm, not that large dude. I'm like 5'7", 5'8". So.
All right. Okay. So you are a shoutcaster. Do you actually play video games yourself still?
Yes. You'd be surprised how often that gets asked. It's definitely a thing within the commentary world. Like if you don't play the game that you claim to love and cast and stuff like that, it really just, 1 + 1 doesn't equal 2 there. And I'm not saying playing, 40, 50 hours a week, which really is towards the low end that some of these pros have to practice these games and stuff like that. But yeah, I still dedicate a very large amount of time playing video games. Okay. Stayed up till 4, 5, 6 in the morning, just like I was a teenager again a couple days ago.
Beautiful. I know we talked on the phone. It was late for me. Like it's gotta be really late for you.
Esports never sleeps, especially not during COVID, right?
That's absolutely true. All right. So desert island scenario. You got the island behind you. We're still talking games. If you had one game, power cable, Ethernet cord, what one is it?
I've been asked this many a time, but I can't. What? So there's that like the what's the word? The duality of like campaign-based games, like story-based games that I have loved throughout my entire life, and then the classic PvPs. You're saying there's an internet connection though, right?
Yep, you get an Ethernet cable.
Shit. I would feel dirty if I didn't say Halo 2. So we'll just make this easy for both of us. Halo 2 definitely, but there's loads of different campaign games that I could live, love, and die on, especially an island like that.
Sure. Okay. So let's get to the preneur part, because that's really what the show is about. I want to know what is your professional background and how did you end up being here? Like you said, you just kind of you went to the base camp and then you ended up kind of doing your first shout counting a couple of weeks later. Mm-hmm. But like this was a journey that got you here. So what was that journey?
Yeah, I guess that is kind of a longer, kind of a longer series. So kind of like I said, a big base part there was not making the football team. And even though, again, that, makes logical sense. I was talented, but I wasn't a large person. So don't make it. Why not try out again? I just know that was not, didn't compute in my head, So that was kind of disheartening. Video games was right there. And again, easy to play. I got pretty good at Halo 2. I guess that's the part I didn't really get to so much. So my tag is FBI Tugboat. That came from a relatively large clan named the Final Boss Initiative back in like Halo 2, like 2006, 5, something like this. And this is about that same time, like sophomore year of high school. I'm like 16 years old and getting pretty good at it. Again, 16 kind of regarded in many ways kind of like the beginning of like your heydays, competitive player, like, those years. Just like traditional sports, there really are prime time years for playing, and after which most people can simply not hack it, and that's just time takes a toll on us all, Brad, and I can't argue with it. Anyway, so I changed my tag from Sinless Tugboat, I think, to FBI Tugboat. Had to put that in there, and just never changed it back because it costs like $8. Never really played that well at any other games besides Halo, though, and it wasn't really that much of an interest to me. But given that I spent so much time playing all the way through college, after college even, when I'm like kind of faced with this decision, it was, I guess again, my mind just kind of went to like, I had been doing what I thought like professionally was was going to, help me find satisfaction in like the workplace and stuff like that, and enough money to pay for life. But that just wasn't it. And I knew that doing esports, at least for a while, and that's certainly the truth. Like I've only worked exclusively in esports for probably about a year now. It took a while. It took probably about a year and a half to make enough money through esports to pay for my bills and things like this. Does that make sense?
It does, yeah.
To do for a career. And I guess what initially drove it to me, desperation might be a little bit too much of a word, but dissatisfaction is more accurate, just because, straight up, I just kind of realized like that, doing all this stuff, working for the next man, having bosses and all this other stuff just wasn't it. Part of going to the base camp of Mount Everest with my father is him owning his wilderness medicine company and, like I said, kind of being his own boss, and having done so since like 2009 or something like that. My father was an emergency room doctor, went to Medical University of South Carolina down in Charleston, South Carolina, where I met my mom, had me and my 3 siblings and whatnot, and worked as an emergency room doctor for, I think, 8 years or so like that. And much longer story short that I promise I'm not going to get into. I know I'm rambling a little bit, but I'm not going to get into, not worth getting into. But basically, he became allergic to latex, the stuff in the gloves, and so he can't work in hospitals anymore. What do? You know, he has developed an entire career, entire personality based around being a doctor and things like this. And he knows that he wants to continue on doing the doctoring thing, but can't work in an emergency room, can't be pulling bullets out of people, can't be, you know, stopping heart attacks and whatever. I'm not the ER doctor. I'm not exactly sure what it is that he did in the emergency room. But what do? We've all been Boy Scouts our entire lives. It was an easy transition for him to kind of go in there and teach people how to do the things that he learned how to do in medical school and how he did in the emergency room to, you know, this Boy Scout troop. Little Johnny breaks his leg out in the woods. How do you get him back home alive? So that definitely had an impact on it. Like, I was literally there because this is what my father did for a living. In 2015, he went there for the second time to the base camp of Mount Everest. And again, not going to get super into this, but basically a very large earthquake triggered an avalanche that killed a lot of the base camp, like took it away, and he narrowly survived. And so going back there in 2018 was with my little sister, with my little brother, was in a huge way kind of like a healing process for him, we'll say. And it was, you know, it wasn't all rainbows and smiles. You know, it wasn't all just a touristy thing. And now my father's in a much better place than he was before then. You know, PTSD affects people forever. So that's definitely a thing, but it is much better than it has been in the past. And I'm really glad that I was able to do this for my dad, to be able to go with him and comfort him, especially along some of the, you know, more, you know, some of the rockier parts, I guess. And seeing that and him doing what he loved based on that, and even still in the face of adversity, literally almost dying, it was like, well, he's his own boss. Like, that's one of the things I hated about working in marketing and advertising, is having, I mean, kind of like the typical boss that gets too far into management and then kind of forgets like what they're doing or what, you know, it's all about, or forget it's about advertising or marketing. And then, you know, instead of it's like personal for them or whatever else, you know, well, one of the many issues can come from working in your office with a boss that, again, becomes disconnected from like the work that you're doing and things like this. So that was a huge appeal as well. Freelancing has not been easy at all, but it has been satisfying. And when I mess something up, it's on me. And when I do something great, it's on me. And that's one of the most satisfying feelings I've ever felt.
Absolutely. Owning your own business is the way to go. All right. So Jordan, what is a shoutcaster?
So shoutcasters come, I guess, yeah, just really the classic divide is between color and play-by-play. Color being, you know, the analytical side. He or she is saying why somebody is doing what they just did, and the play-by-play is kind of the hype man and talking about the play-by-play, what a individual is doing inside a competition as they are doing it, with a lot of flair, a lot of fun adjectives, a lot of puns and things like this. I tend more towards the play-by-play side. I've done color for a couple of different esports like Rocket League and Rocket League, Madden. But I think a lot of people who have seen this would definitely have watched the NFL. So if you turn on the NFL, I hope in a few months and it's on and people are playing actual, you know, live events and things like this, and you get Joe Buck and you get Troy Aikman. Troy Aikman is your color commentator, the former, and the classic situation, former player, really smart guy, did really well within this respective competition that he was playing in, and very analytical and has like this big brain, you know, statements, and then play-by-play, the booming voice, the golden throat who's coming through here with all the like colorful adjectives and the fun, like, you know, rumbling, stumbling, whatever, I can't remember the call, is a famous NFL commentator. Anyway, but Joe Buck's, again, doing the play-by-play, like the big hype man kind of stuff, like kind of like that role.
Okay, wonderful. So like, what kind of training went into this? I mean, obviously the first time you did it, you probably just kind of went and did it, but like, I'm sure at some point you like, I have to figure out how to do this better.
Kind of training, in a very real way, especially when you're like developing your own voice or whatever. Another question I get frequently is like, you know, do you have a persona? Do you have like an image you want to project or whatever else like that? And I'm not saying that it doesn't work or it can't work for anybody, but personally, I just think that developing like a character, I guess, kind of requires a lot of work. And until you get to that, you know, professional, like 10 out of 10 point, crowds and spectators and everything else are going to kind of see that and like be like, that's not really genuine. So me personally, when the time came around to develop that was not something I did. I speak my mind. I say things based on how I feel about stuff. And yeah, and like I speak pretty fast, as you kind of pointed out. That is something I've had to slow down. But outside of that and just getting, super, super hyped, which again, is in the job description. Like there's very few fake hype in esports. People complain about it sometimes, think it might be a little bit much, but getting back to your question about training, a lot of it was seeing how other people did it. One of the things that I prepare for when a new esport comes out, and if I want to cast it, is see how the tier 1 casters of that scene do it for that respective thing. For Overwatch, that'd be the Overwatch League. For Call of Duty League, for the Call of Duty, that'd be Call of Duty League. For Apex Legends, that'd be the Apex Legends Global Series, the ALGS. How do they do it? They got their jobs for a reason, right? Other ways of training or whatever. I mean, honestly, no, there was no real like preparation or whatnot. I set some money aside, knowing that I wasn't going to be able to work like a marketing job, but knowing that I wanted to at least hack it in esports. And again, once I did it for the first time, there was no question whatsoever. I'd rather live as a pauper, casting than rich as a marketer or advertiser. And I mean, preparation wise, honestly, it's kind of one of those things that you have to do a lot to kind of feel your voice and kind of like feel comfortable within yourself and get out of your head. The best any of the best casts are just conversations. Any of the best commentary is just a conversation with another person, and a lot of that is just getting out of your own head, and realizing, again, super hype is in the job description. Like that's what you're supposed to do, so just do it. Don't stop thinking about it and just do it.
That's fantastic. Okay,
Thank you.
So you mentioned that you're a freelancer. So how do you find your jobs?
A laundry list of different ways. Social media is huge. Yeah, that's the short answer.
Okay. That's probably the shortest answer we're going to get today, right?
Who knows?
Okay. But like, I really want actuals on this show. Like if somebody wants to follow in your footsteps and they're sitting here watching this and they're like, I want to do what Jordan's doing. I have no idea how to do it. How can they go find that job?
Well, coming from no experience, I mean, again, when I first started, I had some money saved aside, knowing that I wasn't going to make anything for a while, because most people will not pay anybody with no experience, honestly. The vast majority of the stuff that I did, everything that I did was unpaid for probably not 6 months. And I was working at an event rentals place and stuff, just, hourly work and stuff like that, but just knowing that like I wanted to do this thing. And so I wanted to, set my schedule around that. Whereas my 9 to 5, Monday through Friday would not have meshed with that. So, if you want to be, you said follow my footsteps and things like this. The first step would be realizing that you're going to have a lot of time. It's esports, like I was saying, stuff that goes on randomly at all different times. When I first started casting, one of my first like reliable paid gigs, like the recurring, was casting Overwatch for some Australians who were working with some tier 2 teams from Overwatch Contenders there. Now, it wasn't an Overwatch Contenders event, and obviously Australian dollars does not translate to as much in US dollars, but these are competitions I had to wake up at like 3:45 to be in lobby by 4 or 4:15 for a competition that started at 4:30 in the morning, and then went for 3 or 4 hours because it was 3 games or 4 games. Or no, 2 or 3 games, since it was like 3. So it was like 3 or 4 hours. And yeah, that was 15 Australian dollars. No, it was 5 Australian dollars an hour. It was 4 hours, and 5 Australian dollars is like $3 our money or something like that. And I appreciate that so much. Like I'm kind of like smiling or laughing or whatever else like that. But in my mind, I'm reminiscing. I really am. Like that first year, it kind of sucked, but I'd found something that I absolutely love to do. And the money didn't matter that so much there. You want to follow my footsteps, you want to do what I do, just do it. A lot of times I'm driving to gigs, I'll literally be driving down and we got our silver accurate head to head here as we're passing mile marker 167 or whatever else. Just literally doing it will make you more comfortable in it. Like especially play-by-play will make you more comfortable in the observational sense of seeing something and then saying it, not just, the circular fan spins around. I want to say something about it, give it a flashy adjective or whatever else like that. And, you want to do what I do. You want to be a commentator. You want to shout about play-by-play and stuff like this. Just simply do it. And a lot of the, like those weird situations, that's another way you can get out of your head. Like I said, driving, just simply doing it will prepare you for doing it live. Other ways to do what I do. I mean, be super. I mean, like I said, social media, but honestly, a lot of it is the work that I've done kind of speaks for itself. And then when I work with somebody, and it's a good, it's a good experience. It's just a personal connection, like everything else in life, right? I think in college they would say it's not the grades you make, but the hands you shake. It's just in life, it's the hands you shake. It's the people that you know, right? It's the people I've worked with before, from New York to Orlando, who have produced games or been there watching. Watching commentary live, or somebody's like, I've had parents like thank me and stuff like this. I haven't had a gig come from a parent. Yeah, that'd be really, really, that'd be really cool. But yeah, that happens all the time. I go somewhere random and cast with somebody new for the very first time, and they own an org and they're running a competition this next week, and okay, I'm flying right out. And that's not the stuff you can't purchase that stuff, right? That's again something that is only achievable by just simply doing it for a while, right?
Absolutely, it's your reputation.
If you were somebody who's bigger in esports and you want to make the transition to casting, then that's different, and that happens all the time. But yeah, just coming from basically where I was a casual player who was super interested in esports and watched Twitch streams and stuff like this, but I didn't know anybody outside of my group of friends, standing from just like growing up or from in college, that did anything in esports. And again, it's a very satisfying feeling. I hope it doesn't sound like arrogant or conceited or confident or anything else like that. It's just I feel really good about how I got into esports, basically.
No, absolutely. That's wonderful. Now, I want to know, what makes you unique? What unique skills that do you have that were able to get you into this position that maybe somebody else doesn't have?
Cute.
You're beautiful.
I appreciate you saying that. Well, uniqueness. Definitely. Yeah, I'll say that my gusto for going to get gigs and like asking people, like I think that I do a good job of contacting people after gigs and both finding out their opinions and stuff like this, because really a third set of eyes is going to be some of the best that you got. I'll actually tackle that a little bit later. We will talk about that, but I follow up with people. I am hesitant to think about the amount of gigs that I've even missed by forgetting that one guy at the term that I work with. Now, I'm not saying I hit up everybody and nothing like this, but you're talking producers, org owners, any in-game observers that you work with, a co-caster. If you're not hitting them up afterwards, or if you liked working with them, I guess I should say, you liked working with them, you want to do it again, you're not hitting them up afterwards, at least for like a little inquiry, like, hey, I had a good time and would love to work again. If you know anything that would fit me, then word. If you're not doing that, then that really is it's not going to do yourself any favors, is what I'm saying. Uniqueness wise, I think I did a good job of getting out of my own head early. And part of that is just realizing that I absolutely love to do it. And that was like the best way to do it. So I just did it a whole lot until I stopped thinking about what I'm saying and just said it. Uniqueness wise, and also, yeah, I read a lot and I have a very large vocabulary. Right now I'm, I just ate and talking really fast and not really in caster mode or whatever else like that. So don't let it fool you. I'm very eloquent.
I love it. All right. So like you've just dumped a ton of advice for people here. Do you have any other advice on how to be a shoutcaster, how to actually like do the job?
Yes. So I've always taken the stance on advice that like, the more applicable it is, the more, almost ambiguous, I guess it is, like it can fit in a lot of different situations, the better. One of the best things you'll find you'll do for yourself in esports is just simply being versatile. Especially that first year, I was also, especially for online gigs, I was also, producing. I was also, and running production at, live events or helping them out with stuff like this, especially since the kind of bare bones esports bare bones esports production crew is 2 casters and a producer. But there's a lot of things that goes into production. There's a lot of things that go into production. And so, especially if he gets or she gets asked a lot of them, if I'm going out and I'm taking a break, why wouldn't I, ask this guy if he wants a drink, or ask this chick if she wants them to eat when I'm going to get it, why would I help them out as well? Being versatile and being willing to work in other roles and not getting stuck, kind of stuck up on it. Like, oh, I'm a caster, I'm not going to do that. I'm a freelancer, I'm not going to help out this org just because they're, not paying for the food that I'd be picking up for this shoutcast, or paying for the drink that I'd be picking up for this production. Be versatile, I would also say that especially in today's day and age, you don't have to drop hundreds or thousands of dollars really on a setup. If you have a laptop, if you have a decent headset, and you have a lamp and an internet connection, you can be a caster. And like kind of like the counterpiece of advice to that is thinking otherwise is incredibly destructive for any desires to get into casting. I'll just leave that there. Actually, you don't have to spend $1,000 on a setup and whatnot to be able to have hardware that's good enough to call a game. A couple other things here. I think this, I've kind of like spoken to this kind of by describing it, but honestly, it's not necessarily easy to get in esports. It's a really wild west right now. There's a super big heyday for esports back in like 2008, big bubble burst, and then we kind of been getting back from that since then. And it's like I said, I had some money set aside, and I knew I was gonna have to work like hourly work even after having graduated college and not working in something where I even had a degree in. And I knew that was going to be it. I knew it was going to be work for pennies or for nothing for a while. So if you want to do it, just be prepared for that, really, And I guess that's more like a larger piece of advice. Just be prepared for what you're doing before you do it, right?
That's pretty much most businesses.
Yeah, exactly. Last real two big pieces here is something I mentioned earlier is like any, and this is a bigger caster told me this when I started out, but like any of the best commentary is just an honest conversation, honest, informed, entertaining conversation. If you're trying to cast something, if you're trying to commentate in this, you are very, very, very good, like pro level status, like tier 1, and you're just, phoning it in that day, everybody is going to find out. And everybody who's done hundreds of, commentary blocks like I have at this point is tired for some of them and doesn't get their 100%. I can admit that. And it's obvious. It really is. And I've done that before, and I felt, bad about it afterwards. I'm like a little bit of shame, like, oh, I didn't put in my 110%. Just have the conversation, honestly. Again, thinking that a block of commentary needs to be something is just absolute folly of thinking. And the best tool that any commentator has is just simple active VOD review. Doing it by yourself can be really boring. Honestly, is the worst part of this job, in my opinion, is VOD reviewing. For a while, I'm like decently critical of myself, and especially when I started out VOD reviewing and hearing myself like make mistakes. Not like my voice necessarily, but that's something else, I guess, a piece of advice. We are all biologically freaking like programmed to despise the sound of our own voice. Everybody hates the sound of their own voice. Literally everybody. Joe Buck, like the Golden Thrower guy that did some kind of music or whatever else like that. I guarantee you they hated their own voice at some point in their lives, and just getting over that is kind of part of like getting out of your head and stuff like that. But the best VOD review is with your co-caster and then a third set of eyes. Somebody who is not part of the competition, who was not there when you said the words that you said, and so they can get a fresh set of eyes on it. Because, and this has happened before, me and my co-caster are VOD reviewing, going back and forth, and then we both kind of like agree on something, and then as soon as somebody else sees that, it's kind of like, oh, well, that's not how I took it at all. Like, I took this as, you were trying to go up as opposed to go down, or whatever else. So literally one of 1,000 different things. But really, that fresh set of eyes is crucial. It's not something that you're going to find frequently until a few years working in esports, like having a co-caster who's willing to VOD review with you frequently, or somebody who's willing to come in as that third party and watch, a full 45-minute game and a full hour-and-a-half game, a full 2-hour game, and just give you their opinion, right? And it's even harder to have that third person be like a caster or a producer or something like that, who kind of has like a leg to stand on, like a ground to speak from, who's watched a lot of commentary and knows what good and bad is. But advice-wise, yeah, that's definitely it. Best cast is conversation, and VOD reviewing is the best thing that any of us can have, and it's so easy. Today's day and age, so many different technologies that you can do this on, right? That you can get a video and audio going through, and people watching the same thing. So. Oh,
that's incredible! You just gave us an entire education on shoutcasting. Thank you.
Yeah, you'll get a bill in the mail next week. I don't know.
That's right. Okay, I'm gonna give you a typical interview question. Where do you see yourself in 5 years?
2025? Man, oh man. You asked me that last year, I think I'd have a regular answer for you, but I feel like predicting the future after 2020 is absolute, just not a good idea. But no, seriously, where I'd love to be in 5 years, having at least done some stuff on one of the tier 1 esports that I really love casting, some Rocket League, some Overwatch, some Call of Duty, some Halo, something like that. Probably not. Yeah, almost certainly not living in South Carolina. Probably Vegas or LA. That's just where a lot of esports stuff goes on.
Well, when you come to Vegas, hit me up. I'm here.
I've been there a few times. I love Vegas. It's I have a buddy who's in the military out there, and he said housing is like incredibly cheap, which is really cool. And of course, Vegas is what, like a 3-hour drive away from LA.
3 or 4, yeah.
Not bad.
Depends on
Not
traffic.
bad. Yeah. And there's, I mean, what the Luxor Casino there has the Allied Esports arena in them, and then I've worked there too. It is a beautiful production room. There is like something you see out of like a newsroom when they pan it over in a movie. Beautiful stuff. And there's so there's a lot of stuff in LA. A lot of stuff in LA. Probably the most out of anywhere else in the world except for maybe like Seoul, Korea. And Vegas as well. And Vegas was a really cool place. And when I went there, it was just really dry. I'm used to the 90% humidity all the time.
It's wonderful. All right. So Jordan, I want to pull back for a second. And we've kind of been talking about your profession, but I want to talk about you more as a person if we can. And specifically, I want to ask you, what is something that you have failed at? Because I think we learn the most from our failures rather than our successes. At least when we have a failure, we have to stop, take a look at what we did, and then figure out how to fix it to move on. So what is something you have failed at?
Something I failed at that I'm willing to admit on stream. I wouldn't consider my initial thing kind of goes with the marketing thing, but I definitely did not fail there. I just I tried it and it was not for me. Biggest failure. Oh man, actually, yeah, I know exactly what it was. This will haunt me until the day I die. I was like 9 months into casting, and I could give you 3 times the amount of content that we've already gotten here so far, based on the idea of what is worth working for free and when you should never work for free again. But then that never is still kind of like, well, if there's a thing like this. Basically, I'm not going to say any names here, but I got a huge opportunity to go out to LA to work on something. And just basically because they were only willing to pay for the flight and the hotel and not actually pay me, I said, well, I need to value myself, blah, blah. And then I saw what they did. I saw what happened and the amount of viewers, the amount of followers of the person who did what I was offered to do, got, and things like this, and I will kick myself to the day I die for that. Again, not going to say any names necessarily, but basically a missed opportunity based on me not overvaluing myself, but I should have realized that it was the opportunity that it was, if that makes sense. And I think a little bit of like arrogance or confidence kind of went into that. And so, yeah, that was like 9 months in. I'd like to think I would have done a good job, but even if I'd done a bad job, I would have gotten a lot in front of a lot more people, in front of a lot of eyes. So,
hey, at least you're humble about it. It means you're learning.
Oh yeah, it was. Yeah, when I saw that happen, it was kind of heart wrenching. But I always say that if you don't learn from a mistake, then you just you made 2, right? You just messed up twice. So.
All right. Now, what's something you're working to improve on in yourself?
Starting to improve on myself. I got way better at talking slower when I first year and a half of commentary, and I know that it can be confusing talking really fast. But that is something I'm working on definitely. Reading is another big thing, especially like I was saying, like I have a wide vocabulary and things like this, like staying reading, especially for, I would say maybe a little bit more so for a play-by-play, just because of the crazy, like colorful adjectives and all this other stuff that you're using, an analysis, color commentator is more going to be like, more like focus based, more like deep theory or like meta knowledge of the specific esport or competition that you're commentating. So continuing reading would be a big thing, and I need to do more of that. So
fantastic. Okay, one more.
Hit me.
When somebody first comes across you, whether they're listening to you or they first meet you, what is something that you think they misunderstand about you?
Oh, probably just the typical esports thing, the typical video game thing that, everybody in esports, everybody in video games, once they hear that, they think you're a couch dweller or a basement dweller and don't have like social skills and stuff like that. 100%. Okay. Yeah. I should say, what you're saying is they just look at me or they talk to me?
When they talk to you.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. When people talk to me, probably 1 out of 10, when I say I'm in esports, they say, oh, wow, like you're so well spoken, or like you look me in the eyes and things like this. And it's some of the weirdest things I've ever, like, yes. Just leave that there.
Well, I'm glad, at least I'm here to try to help dispel that myth.
Exactly. Yeah, hey, that's part of the reason why I came on. Seriously, it's a fantastic cause, and I don't know if it'll ever not be that connotation, which again doesn't really make a whole lot of sense, especially given how mainstream esports is now. You got an ESPN.
Hey, one of the professors I just had on recently mentioned that there was a study that said something like 77% of Gen Z people in high school are playing video games. So give it enough time, it's not going to be a stigma because everybody's doing it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, mobile gaming, considering esports now, especially, I can definitely see that.
Absolutely.
77%.
Right. Jordan, this has been absolutely fantastic. Thank you so much.
I appreciate
How do people find you? Where are you on social media?
Let's see. Twitter's main place, really. That's twitter.com/FBI_tugboat. All my names across everything, they're the same. FBI_tugboat, or there's no space. So
Okay.
pretty easy. Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, and then any gaming platform, your Steams, your Battle.nets, your Xbox Live, stuff like that.
Beautiful. All right. Any last points you want to make or anything I didn't ask you think we still need to cover?
No, I'm genuinely curious. How many episodes of this have you done of the game Gamerpreneur?
I actually just calculated this last night. So I just did my 95th interview yesterday.
Hey, okay.
But I also do 2 solo podcasts each week. So I think I'm over like 160 or so.
That's awesome, man. That's awesome. I've done a little bit of podcast work before and stuff like that. There's mostly just like visits, kind of like this. That's awesome. I'm really glad. And again, I appreciate you having me on, because part of this, like you said, was the getting rid of that connotation that esports people are basement dwellers. It's just silly. It might have made sense.
It's so not true. It's not true in any way. I just interviewed an anthropologist yesterday. Like
literal scientists and
everywhere.
stuff like this. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
All right. Well, Jordan Fitzpatrick, thank you so much for coming on. We genuinely appreciate it.
Appreciate you. Thanks for having me.
All right. And for everybody else, I'm going to remind you all, don't be just a gamer, be a gamerpreneur.